When I was tallying up all of the books that I read in 2025 based on their genre, I read 63 romance books. And I read some of them physically because I have the book. I also read from Kindle, through Libby, as well as from an e-arc that I received on NetGalley or that I requested from NetGalley. And I have in front of me 33 contemporary romance adult books that I want to rank from least liked to most loved. And I'm hoping that I will spend less than a minute per book because there are 33 and we're gonna be here all day. So I'm gonna link all of the books down in the description box below if you would like to read a little bit more about the summary and what the book is all about. So the first book that I have that is on number 33, I guess, so the least liked that I read last year, was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I feel like this book series was pretty popular and really talked about probably in the last couple of years, and honestly I was just super curious on what this book series is all about. I decided to pick up the first one, and it was not a great book for me. I think the main characters' connection emotionally are not really there. Like, they were attracted physically first, and then I also don't like the fact that the FMC learn the stuff about the MMC from like the friends around them or like the people in the small town, not directly from him. I just think it was kind of weird. The next one in number 32 was Time Loops and Meet Cutes by Jackie Lau. I realized that I don't like a book where the setting is either the same day or during like a day or something, because the next book is that. So this book is about a time loop. This girl is stuck after she ate like a dumpling at a night market nearby her house, and then when she woke up in the morning, it was basically the same day over and over again. I think she was stuck in this time loop for about 3 months, and I don't know, I just don't really like that setting. The writing though I do like, so I definitely want to look into Jackie Lau's other books in the future, but the time loop element, it was not for me, at least on this book. This one is gonna be number 31, I believe, and it is The Girl Most Likely To by Julie Tew. I think that's how you say her last name. This book setting basically spanned for about one night. I think maybe the first few chapters, it was like a few days before this reunion night that these characters are going to for their high school reunion, and then most of the books, you know, all of the things that happen is in a span of one night. And again, I realized that I don't like that setting. The writing, again, like I said, it's really good. I do like it. So I think I don't know if I have one more of her books, but she definitely has more books, and there are other books of hers that I am really interested in reading. I think there's one about an office romance, so I have that already. I was supposed to read that in December because it's, I think, a holiday romance. Like, the cover doesn't really look like a holiday romance, but I think it happens in like November, December, so I think I'm gonna pick that up this year towards the end of the year. And on number 30, I have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This one is the first book in the Ballinger Sisters series. I mentioned the second book in a more recent video, Hook, Line, and Sinker, I think. It is the second book and the last book in the series, but I cannot get over the nicknames that the main characters give each other. I think this book is pretty okay. The premise is pretty interesting in my opinion, but I don't really like too much of the third person POV. I know that I have 4 or 5 of her books in the Big Shot series, and when I read the first few pages of the very first book, it is third person POV as well. Hopefully I have a better experience reading those books in that series, but I honestly don't even really remember too much about the story. I think it is definitely better than the second book because I think these two characters have more connection and they don't have nicknames, I think. I don't know, I don't really remember too much about this book. I think that's why it's on number 30. On number 29, I have Summer in the City by Alex Astor. This is her debut adult romance novel that was released last year. It was so hyped up because she talked about this book on her social media a lot, and there's like 7 versions of this book from different retailers. I think this book is just okay as well. I do like how the main characters connected before, and I think she kind of hated his gut in the beginning. She's a writer, he's a millionaire or a billionaire. I just feel like sometimes the billionaire guy or the millionaire guy, like the way that he is written up in this book, it doesn't really feel like he's a real rich guy. The writing is great, I do like it, but just the way that she writes about him and his like rich life, it's just not real to me. I don't know why. All right, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29. I think this is gonna be, you know what, I'm gonna just pop out the number on the screen, because if I start counting now, I think I'm gonna lose it. The next book that I had is A 7-Year Slip by Alex Poston. By Ashley Poston. I feel like everybody and their moms really love this book. This is probably one of the magical realism book that have been talked about so highly and so much in the bookish community, and that is why I decided to pick this book up. I would say that the story is pretty nice, but I can predict basically the ending and who is who by the first few chapters. I don't know if that is intentional, but I feel like if you read closely, you can probably tell right away who is who in this book. I'm trying to like not spoil anything, but I think the writing style is great. I have some other books that I read by Ashley Poston that I like better than this one, so I'm not really sure why it doesn't really hit me the way it hits other people, but I think it's just because I was able to predict it and it was just kind of obvious to me. The next book that I have is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I feel like this book definitely has potential, but it has so many characters. I think it's because the guy is in a college hockey team, the girl is in a, what is it, figure skating team or couple or pair or something, but there's just so many characters from his side that it's kind of like confusing. Honestly, they just kind of flow in and out of the chapters that I don't really remember any of them. I remember like a couple key characters that I know is gonna be in the next 2 books in this book series, but other than that, everybody else was such a blur. The next book that I have is Love on Lexington Avenue by Lauren Lane. This is the second book in the Central Park Pact series. This trilogy, I guess, has a very interesting premise, and it's about 3 women who technically met at this guy's funeral. One of the women was his lover, the second book is about his wife, and the third book is gonna be about his fiance. But the guy kind of unexpectedly passed away in the beginning of the book series, and we're just learning about the 3 women that make this pact to not let a playboy, a jerk, really like play with them. Anyways, this book was just okay. I think just the writing of Lauren Lane is one of kind of like my comfort read, so I do enjoy this book. I still need one more book to finish this book series. I probably will borrow the third book from Libby and probably will unhaul this book because I don't want to get the other 2 books physically. So the next book that I have, We Met Like This by Casey West. I actually received this book from, I think, Booksparks, because they were doing the marketing for this book when it first came out last year. I think Casey West is a beloved YA author, but this was, I believe, her first adult romance book, and I think it was pretty good. It has a very unexpected plot twist toward the end of the book, and I did not expect it at all. Like I said, I am a romance reader. I feel like I know what to expect in a romance book because I read so many of them. But the plot twist in this book, I did not expect it. And I think that's why I really enjoy this book. And if you are a fan of Casey West and you like her YA books, I think you should pick up this book. The next one that I have is Happy Place by Emily Henry. To me, this book was just okay. I don't think this is really one of my favorite Emily Henry books, but I kind of get why people like it. Honestly, it's also probably because at the time when I was reading this book, I think I was kind of in a reading slump. I don't know why I don't like it that much. I think it's maybe because there are also like 3 other couples in the book, and I feel like if this book is like the first book in the book series and then the second and third book is gonna be about the other 2 couples in this book, I might like it better. But I don't think Emily Henry would really write kind of like an interconnected book series like that, so all of the story about the other 2 couples are also in here, and I think that's why I don't really like it that much. So the next book in this book ranking video is gonna be The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Like I said, I did read The 7-Year Slip. I don't really like it that much, but I think I like this book a little bit better than The 7-Year Slip. This one still has magical realism in it, and it is still pretty predictable for me because I know who is who again in probably the first few chapters of the book. This one does have a pretty interesting premise because the MMC is like a ghost. And again, if you read about a book that have that premise, you wouldn't know that there's gonna be a happy ending for them because like he's technically dead. Like how is she gonna be with him, right? Unless she also died. Anyways, I ranked this a little bit higher than The 7-Year Slip because I like the premise and just the story and the connection between the two main characters better. The next book in the ranking is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I think this book is the perfect summer romance book to read. So if you are working on your summer TBR for 2026 and if you haven't read this book, definitely add this book to your list. This book is a second chance romance book. The main characters used to be best friends in high school. They are attracted to each other and like they have crush on each other when they were like still friends, and they eventually gave up and actually start dating. Something happened and they broke off their relationship, and then I think what 5 years after their breakup they have to come together to attend their friend's wedding. I like this book because it was explained why they broke up in the first place, and it's actually a pretty good reason. It's pretty justifiable why they broke up, and the way that they make up is also good in my opinion. The next book in the ranking is Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. I feel like I've been showing you guys a lot of summer romance book. I've always loved Annabelle Monaghan's like summer romance book because the FMC seems like someone that I would know in real life, and most of the time they're in their like early or mid 30s, and I just relate to that so much because I am in my mid 30s. Out of the other Annabelle Monaghan's book that I read, this is the one that I liked the least. I think it's because the main character is engaged in the beginning of this book, and then she went back to like the summer cottage or summer house that her family used to spend time at in the summer, and then she met her kind of like first boyfriend again, and things just started to get a little rocky with the fiance. This book is classified as second chance romance, and I think the reason why they broke up back in the day, it's not really related to the characters. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you read this book you know what I mean. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't read it. So I don't think it's kind of justifiable. I think that's why I don't really like it as much as like the other Annabelle Monaghan's books. The next book in the ranking is going to be The Stand-In by Lily Chu. This book actually is pretty cute. I do like it because the main character I think is half Chinese, half white. I think they're Canadian because I think Lily Chu is Canadian author. This book has characters from like the movie industry. So there's the main girl and then a couple that are actually famous in Hong Kong, I want to say, or maybe in China. They somehow ended up in Canada and they were striking a deal between the two girls, and then there's plot twist definitely toward the end of the book, and it was definitely unexpected, but I kind of guessed a little bit because it was kind of hinted throughout the book. It was a great read. I feel like it was a slower romance in my opinion, but I just like the way that the guy is the famous one, she is like a nobody, and they have to kind of like hide when they are not really dating, but like they're spending some time out and about in town and stuff like that. I think it was just really cute. The next book that I have in my ranking is First Time Caller by BK Borison. I feel like when this book came out last year, I think in February, everybody and their moms really loved this book. I think it was a pretty nice read for me. I do like BK Borison's writing style. I read another one of her holiday romance books and I love that one. Kind of way more than this one. I feel like it's a little bit off for me because the FMC is very easygoing. I think she is pretty open with any type of dating idea or just like how love would come for her. But the guy's character, Aiden, he's the problematic one in my opinion. And I guess it is a new idea because usually in romance book, I feel like the FMC is the more problematic one, but in this case, it's the MMC. And the whole situation with Lucy and her ex-husband and the kid and the ex-husband's like new partner is pretty interesting. It is definitely something new that I don't think a lot of us have read in the past, and I think that element is probably why people love this book so much. The next book that I have in the ranking is P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. I think this is her debut novel, if I'm not mistaken. This one again has a very interesting premise. The FMC's brother just passed away in the beginning of the book, and then one of the brother's will is for her and his best friend, the MMC, to go on this road trip to basically spread out his ashes. Her brother is a avid traveler, but then there's this like 8 locations in the US that he hasn't been able to go before he got sick. This too has, of course, history and the past that broke her heart, and she was kind of mad at her brother and like questioning like why he's like punishing her, where she has to go with the best friend. She decided to do it anyway because it is her brother's last wish, and things started to happen. Things that happened in the past got explained throughout this road trip, and there's definitely a very interesting plot twist again towards the end of the book that I did not expect at all, which I think why I love this book. The next one in the ranking is Love is a War Song by Danica Nava. This one is about a pop star who is Native American. She did something completely wrong and she got canceled. Her mom wants her to hide at her grandma's farm somewhere in Oklahoma, I believe. And even though she is Native American, she has no idea about her family, about her Native American side. I think both of her parents are Native American, but this time that she is going to her grandma's farm is going to be the first time she ever learned about her culture and about her background. And of course, she is learning that from none other than this hot, handsome cowboy that worked at her grandma's farm. And I just really, really love this book because not only you get the romance between the two, but you also get to learn a little bit about the Native American background that she has that she never know. And sure, she's learning that also in the story, but we as reader also learning a little bit about Native American culture in general, and I do love that in a romance book. Next book in the ranking is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I'm not really sure if this is actually an official book series, but One Golden Summer, which is Carly Fortune's release in 2025, is kind of like the second book because that book's main character is mentioned throughout this book. People don't really like this book because there's something that happened kind of toward the end of the book that is kind of shocking, but also not surprising in my opinion. This one definitely has the Summer I Turned Pretty coded throughout the book, but the thing is we have kind of like a now and then timeline, so it's a little bit different than the Summer I Turned Pretty. The one girl with two brother type of trope is just very similar to the Summer I Turned Pretty. Once you get into the book, you'll see the difference between the two, and that is kind of like when I can finally separate this book from the Summer I Turned Pretty. The next book that I have in the ranking is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I actually annotated this book quite a lot. I think I love this book so much because the main character is an older sister and I resonate with her struggles, her need to take care of the family of her little sister and of course of her mom. I think the cute part about this story is that the younger sister, really want both of them to spend some time in this small town, and then that is also when they bump into this love interest. What is his name? Charlie. Basically a few years ago, before this whole small town vacation happened, she is the literary agent of this one author and he's supposed to be the editor of this author's book, and they just didn't really give the correct right first impression of each other, so they kind of hated each other, but then they keep bumping into each other in this small town. I just felt like I can relate so much with Nora because she is the older sister. I am the oldest with two younger sisters, so I definitely love that aspect in this book. The next one in the ranking is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hong. This is the first book in the Kiss Quotient book series. This is one of my favorite book series. I think if you have not heard about Helen Hong, about her book series, this one, I think you should definitely pick it up. I also want to mention that I do follow Helen Honks on Instagram, and she recently posted that she finally submits something, I think to her editor or to her agent or something, I don't remember. And she was saying that it was something that she never written before, something that she has never seen before. So I'm so excited to let you know that she is coming out with at least one new book in the future, and I'm not gonna avoid The Heart Principle anymore. I'm gonna read it knowing that I know I'm gonna have something else from Helen Hong to read in the future. Anyways, this book is, I feel like, my least favorite out of the 2 books that I've read so far from this book series. The beginning is kind of awkward. The FMC Stella has Asperger's, and she hired the love interest Michael to kind of coach her about, you know, how to be intimate and dating and stuff like that. And I can tell that it was just awkward between the two because Michael doesn't really understand Asperger's, and it's hard for her to explain it to him what, you know, like her struggle is. I think at the end they just are the cutest. I think their emotional connection is written so well in this book, and that is why I love this book. And I would highly recommend for you to at least maybe start reading this book, and if you don't like it, move on to the second one, because the second one I'm gonna talk about later. It is one of my favorite books. I still have quite a lot of books to go. Okay, the next one in the ranking is If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. This book is like the fall book of 2025 because everyone was reading it, rating it, talking about it, and you can tell that from the book cover it is very highly fall coded. I would have to agree with most of the people who like this book. I do enjoy this book. I like this book. I like the slow burn romance in this book, but I think this is the slowest of the slowest of the slow burn romance. So if you're looking into a book like that, I would highly recommend this book. The only reason why this book is not a perfect 5-star for me is because of how long it is. It is, I think, close to 500 pages, and I know that each page is filled with really great like banter and just events that happen between the two of them, but I just still think it's too long, a little bit too long. But I feel like if it's not this long, we wouldn't really learn about everything that happened between the two of them. Okay, next book in the ranking is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is the first book in the Part of Your World series. Not a lot of people actually like this book because this is a reverse age gap romance. And I wouldn't think that I would like it because usually reverse age gap romance, I don't really like it as much because in real life, I cannot see myself with a younger guy, especially a guy who is 10 years younger than the FMC. But for some reason in this book, it just works. He's very mature, he's very attentive and observant of what the FMC need at the time. I think people have said that they don't like the fact that she's kind of hiding him from her friends and her family, but I think that is just how she protects him because her family is very, you know, bougie and very stuffy. I think that's the right word. So I think she's just trying to protect him from all of that. I still enjoy this book. I cannot wait to read the second and the third one because I've heard that those 2 books are even better than this one. The next book in the ranking is Checkmate by Ailey Hazelwood. I'm not really sure if this is classified as adult romance, but I think it is, even though the main character's Mallory is technically in high school, I think in the beginning of the book, and then she graduated high school. But there are just some things that I feel like is pretty adult in my opinion. Anyways, I just love this book so much because I love Ailey Hazelwood's writing. Her writing style is just very easy to follow. Once you read the first few pages, you just get right into it and you probably continue reading without stopping. I think this is what happened to me when I was reading this book. The first 10% of this book makes me want to get a chess set and makes me want to learn how to play chess. That is how good the book is. Another element that I relate so much is because Mallory is the oldest. She does have 2 sisters in this book, and she is kind of like the main breadwinner of the family because she feels responsible that she is the oldest. Her mom is currently sick and she can't really work, so she has to step up, and I think that is just what older sisters do all the time. We're actually in the top 10 category. So on number 10, we have Good Spirits by Vicky Borison. Like I said earlier, I have read another Vicky Borison books, and I think this one I love way better than First Time Caller. Let me know if you have read First Time Caller and Good Spirits, which one you like better in the comment below. But anyways, when I first read about the book, I don't think that they will have a possible happily ever after because he is a ghost, she is an actual human. But I think I just love the fact that they are kind of intertwined in a completely different level. So like he is kind of like assigned to haunt her, to bring her back to the past so she can learn something about her, maybe something that she did wrong, but there's nothing wrong with her, she is a good person. But things started to feel different whenever they go back to the past and they realize that there's something else that bound them together. I think that's why I like this book. Plot twist in this book is kind of unexpected, but also people have questioned if it's actually possible because it wasn't really explained a lot. I think the banter between the characters are great. It's very cute, very like swoon-worthy in my opinion. I cannot wait to read the second book in this series. I think it's called, what is it, Good Tidings? Grim Tidings or something like that. It's been announced, I don't know, the last few days, and I'm hoping that maybe I should pre-order that book. Number 9, I have Cash by Jessica Peterson. This is one of those small town cowboy romance that start with the city girl with the ranch boy, man, however you want to call them. But anyways, this book I love because I realized that the way that Jessica Peterson's write her spicy scenes, it is just so good. It's not super raunchy, it's not like service level, and I just like the way that it's sprinkled throughout the chapter. It's not just when both of them are together that there are some spicy things or thoughts that they think about each other, so it's kind of like throughout the book. And I just love that, especially when I'm reading from Cash's point of view, from the guy's point of view. I think it's just really cute. I am pretty sure I have all of the books in the series already, or if not, I have pre-ordered them, so it's coming my way sometime this year. I feel like the connection between the two are also pretty good. Like he is teaching her about the ranch, but also about the dad that she never really have any relationship with. I guess I forgot to tell you, but basically her dad passed away and she inherited, is it farm or ranch? I think it's a ranch. And basically she was just gonna go in, sell the ranch quickly and make, you know, money obviously. But there is a stipulation in the dad's will that she has to stay at the ranch for at least a year before she can do anything about it. So Cash comes in as the foreman of the ranch or something and showing her what him and his brother and of course her dad did throughout the ranch, and kind of like telling her that it would be a waste for her to like sell the ranch because she can do so much more with it. Anyways, great book. Hopefully the other books in the series are gonna be as great as this one, and it will be in like my top ranking of romance book that I will hopefully make next year. The next book in the ranking is Salty Spice and a Little Bit Nice by Cynthia Timothy. I feel like I've talked about her book, about this one especially, so many times in my previous videos, but for a good reason. I do love her writing. I love her characters, and she's coming out with a new book in May, and she just announced her third book. I'm not really sure when it's gonna come out, but hopefully in 2027, so I would have something to read by Cynthia Timothy every year. One of the reasons why I love this book is because the love interest is her brother's best friend. They do have a little history together in the past, and he basically moved away from like the East Coast to the West Coast for some reason that you will learn in this book if you read it. The main character, Ellie, does not have a good relationship with her mom because her mom is very, very controlling. Anytime she is working for a company, her mom always find a way to ruin it for her. So she decided to move away from her family and not let anyone know where she is other than her brother. And then when she moved to this new town, I think somewhere in either the Oregon state or Washington state, the one who would help her and rescue her is none other than her brother's best friend, who kind of broke her heart in the past. I don't know why, but I just love that trope. I think it's cute that he gets to help her, and the thing is, I think he still has some lingering something for her, because why would he help her out, right? Anyways, read this book, read the next 2 books that Cynthia Timothy is coming out, because I think you would love it. I feel like the next book in the ranking is gonna be pretty interesting, but I have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I think because this book is the most different than her other books, people don't love it as much. However, I don't know why, but I love this. I mean, I know why, but I do love this book. This is probably one of my favorite Emily Henry's books that I've read so far. I think the romance was romancing. I love the connection between Alice and what is his name? Hayden. I think it's cute that he is trying to not get into any relationship with her because they are trying to compete for this one job. I love Margaret Ives' backstory. It is not boring in my opinion. It is interesting, but there are so many characters in her family that I feel like I had to write it all out and make like my own, you know, family tree for Margaret Ives. The ending of the book, I think, is very unexpected. Like I said, I am a romance reader through and through, and I would expect some type of ending, but this one, again, I did not think about it. I didn't really get the connection at all until the very end when it was revealed. I think I love this book because of that. And I also, if you don't know, got this book for $1. I went to a local library in Las Vegas and I saw this book like I think 2 weeks after it was released. Maybe someone bought it and hated the book and decided to donate it to the library. It's also the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. It is originally how much? $29, and I got it for $1, which is insane, but I'm glad that I get to read it pretty early. I think probably a month or 2 after it was published, and that I loved it so much. The next book in the ranking is The Love Haters by Katherine Center. I have mentioned it before in past videos, but I feel like Katherine Center is gonna be one of the underrated authors that I will have because all of her books have been really great. It's been able to getting me out of reading slump. Once I read the first few pages, I get into it right away and I cannot stop reading it until I'm done to the last page. I think this book I love because it just has a very interesting twist at the end. It also have a very interesting conflict between the FMC and like another character in the book that is also kind of related to the love interest, which is the MMC in the book. So it was just very interesting, very like different than what I read from Katherine Center. I also just love that there is also a dog in this book and also a very eccentric aunt in this book. And I don't know, all of these characters just add up to like a very fun reading time for me. So if you want to read any Katherine Center's books, I think you should pick this up next. And don't worry, I have one more of Katherine Center's book in this ranking. So the next one that I have is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I am reading the second book, which is Can't Get Enough. No, that's the third book. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember. Anyways, this book, let's get back into it. This one is about a couple who is married and have 2 kids and decided to get separated and finally get a divorce because of some tragic event that happened. Not event, 2 events that happened within their marriage that just kind of like shook them to the core and they decided to separate. But after they did that, they were able to kind of co-parent well. They also have a business that they kind of co-manage well as well. And I guess after a couple things that happened, they started to kind of question if their decision to get a divorce is, you know, the good decision for their lives. It's about, of course, second chance romance. And what I can tell you is that this book is very emotional. The tragic events that happen is definitely sad, but it takes a lot of emotional toll, especially for the FMC, because one of them happened to her personally. It is something that I would never imagine having to go through. So reading about it just, I don't know, like put a freaking knife through my heart. But thankfully she has support system that were able to help her out of the funk. And of course, one of them is her ex-husband. Anyways, I love this book so much. I love the book series. I love Kennedy Ryan's writing. I feel like her characters are just so real that it feels like I would know Yasmin in real life. I also cannot wait to get to the third book, which is about Hendrix. And Hendrix is a single woman living that rich auntie life. When I'm reading the second book currently, she is, of course, in the books. And I just love her lifestyle. I just cannot wait to read the third book. That's actually number 5, so we are in the top 5. This one is gonna be number 4, and I have If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. This one is the first book in the Meant to Be series that is kind of affiliated with Disney. This one is a reimagination of Cinderella. And the reason why I love this book so much is because, one, it has this reality dating TV show element that's added into this. Second, it talks a lot about grief, not in a very sad way, but it's just in a different perspective. For example, this main character's name is Cindy. Cindy is basically Cinderella, and we all know when we watched the Cinderella Disney movie that both of her parents passed away when she was young, because in the movie she was living with her stepmom and her 2 stepsisters. But we never really realized that Cinderella, or Cindy, are still grieving the death of her parents because she lost both of them at such a young age. And in this book, it was definitely being explored way more than the movie. Cindy in this book has accomplished so many great things in her life, but she literally has nobody to tell, like nobody that is blood related to her to tell about all of the successes and accomplishments that she was able to do by herself. And that was just kind of sad for me, and it's kind of just like a great reminder that Cinderella is not all that we know of her in the Disney movie. There's just so many different like things that we did not learn from that movie, and I feel like that is for a good reason, because the movie is a children's movie and this is like an adult book. So I feel like as an adult learning all of this that had happened to like Cinderella technically, it's just kind of eye-opening for me. I honestly cannot wait to read the rest of the book in the series, especially if it's gonna have a different perspective than what we all love and know from the Disney movies. This is gonna be the top 3 of this ranking, and I'm already at 57 minutes, which is crazy. I don't know when I'm going to be able to edit this video, but hopefully sooner than later. Okay, number 3, I do have another Katherine Sandra books. Like I said, it is the rom-comers. And I don't know why, but I just love this book because the 2 main characters are screenwriters. He is famous, she is not. She's hired to help him fix this rom-com screenplay that he wrote that was horrible. And I feel like in the beginning, you know, and you can definitely tell that he is technically smitten by her. There's also so many different interesting backstory of these 2 characters, especially hers. And in Katherine Sandra's book, there's always a third act, not really conflict, but just things to shake things up in the book. And there's also that element in this book that is kind of ridiculous. I think it is just crazy, but it just kind of makes sense. I love it when characters in a book is kind of like related to like the movie industry or the entertainment industry, and both of them are screenwriters. There's also a cameo of a character from her other book that I have read earlier this year. It's not in this ranking because I don't have the physical book, but that book called The Bodyguard is also really great. And The Bodyguard, that book, is going to be adapted to a movie, I think a holiday movie, for Netflix this year, and I cannot wait to watch it. I think it's going to be completely different, or a little bit different, because the book, The Bodyguard, is not a Christmas book, and it's not going to be called The Bodyguard because there is already a movie called The Bodyguard. Anyways, let's move on to the second book in this ranking, and that is Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This book is so cute. Again, Annabelle Monaghan's FMC is always so relatable, especially for us readers who are in our 30s. This book is about Allie, who is a single mom of 2. She has no idea what she wants to do in her life because she just got a divorce. Her mom just passed away earlier in the year. She is a chaotic mess, basically. But in the summer, she met up with this one guy by chance because they were meeting at a dog park. Her dog actually peed on this man, and that is how their meet cute is. Another element in this book is reverse age gap romance. So the guy is a little bit younger than her. Again, that is usually not what I like because in real life, I cannot see myself with a younger guy. But again, the younger guy is definitely more mature. He doesn't really pressure her to do anything more other than a summer fling. He doesn't really pressure her to like meet with her kids and really get involved with her life because obviously they come from different world. Anyways, this is just really cute. There is a plot twist somewhere in this book that I will not tell you, and once you realize it, you would be like, oh my god, that is crazy. Anyways, read this book, love it so much. I cannot wait for Annabelle Monaghan's new book that is coming out this year. I think it's called All Dolly All the Time. Is that right? Something about Dolly. Anyways, let's move on to the first book in this ranking. I feel like we need a drum roll. The first book in this ranking is The Bride Test by Helen Hong. This is the second book in the Kiss Quotient book series. I still have the third book, The Heart Principle, that I need to read, and I have been avoiding that book because I knew at the time that it's gonna be the last book that I will read from Helen Hong's for a long time, until she announced on Instagram, like I said earlier, that she's writing something and it's kind of like been submitted to her editor or her agent and it's in the works. Don't know when it's gonna be published, but it's coming. Anyways, this Bride Test book is so good. I just really love the way Helen Hong's write the emotional connection between the two characters without conversation. All of them is in the action, all of them is in just the things that they do for each other. Let me just give you a little synopsis of this book. Basically, the main character Kai is autistic. He thinks that he's broken because he cannot really express feelings or say what he feels to someone. His mom is just so sick of him being single, not wanting to be in a relationship. So what did she do? She went back to Vietnam, find him a girl, a bride to be exact, and bring her back to America. So his mom accidentally met up with Esmeralda in Vietnam. She basically decided to say yes to this crazy idea because she wants to change her life. She knows that it's gonna be hard to seduce Kai, but like I said, just their emotional connection is just so good, so brilliantly written in this book, and I cannot wait for you to hopefully pick this book up. Those are all of the 33 books of romance, adult romance books that I read in 2025, ranking it for you from the least liked to the most loved, and hopefully this will help you out if you are kind of on the verge of picking any of this book up in this ranking list. Let me know in the comment below which one you have read and which one you least like and most loved.